There's a point, though, in your life where you stood up and you developed the courage to stand up and say, this is wrong. And that's kind of what journalists have to go through now against power, right? It's gotten much harder. And every person reaches that point. And many people back down. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, uh, what is that point? How do you push more people to have the courage to do that? Like, what went through your head? Why did you decide to do it?
The thing for me um, was I looked at the trend, and I remembered the internet of my youth. I remember what it used to be like to be anyone, to be no one, and to just say what you thought. You could be incredibly wrong. You know, you could say something incredibly stupid, or you could say something crushingly honest, but might have been embarrassing, or it might have been painful if it was linked to your personal identity. But no one remembered. You know, they said nowadays they say the internet, never forgets. But back then the internet forgot immediately because nobody cared, and nobody knew who you were. We picked our own names, and the names changed every week. Um, and as we saw the early creative and cooperative internet be replaced by an increasingly commercial and competitive internet, um, as the means of communication became a mechanism for profit, uh, and as governments began to use it as a um, platform for predation, and to be able to basically look at everyone and pull anyone off the board, know all of their secrets, do everything like that. I thought, well, what is the world going to look like? What is tomorrow going to look like if I do nothing? What if nobody knows about this just because people like me never say anything about it until it's too late? Because the longer these powers exist, the longer these systems are allowed to entrench themselves in the operations of these institutions, the harder they are to change, the harder they are to roll back. And honestly, one of the greatest criticisms I have of myself is that I waited far too long. But I think for everyone else, particularly journalists, there are a lot of journalists, I think, who keep their head down, and they're doing so rationally. They are looking at the attacks against journalists today. They are looking at the rising tide of hate mongering from officials in many different countries. The intentional targeting that does, in many cases, result in violence. And they go, look, I've got bills, I've got a family, or I just want to get to the end of the day and watch my shows. They go, this is not for me. I can't fix it on my own. But when you think about what happens if you do nothing, and you think about what that means for your family, you think about what that means for the world that you are going to have to live in, along with everyone else. And then you consider just for a moment what the alternative might be. If you took a risk. Because it's not enough to believe in something. It's not enough to believe that things have to change. It's not enough to believe that we need reform. You have to stand for something if you want something to change. And I think we see extraordinarily brave journalists. We see extraordinarily brave people in every occupation today, because crisis and tragedy, as terrible as they are, they have a way, I believe, in bringing out the best in individuals. But I don't want people to think, this is something that happens without sacrifice. You don't have to light yourself on fire, but you can't just sit on the couch and wait for things to get better. It really does start with you.